Alright, now we want to talk a little bit about reflections. Now with reflections we're going to see two main types. We're going to see reflections over our y-axis and reflections over our x-axis. So we're going to start at looking at a reflection over our y-axis, and we're going to focus on this with just one point. First thing, a helpful thing to do with that is to highlight the axis that we're going to be flipping over. The reason we want to do that is because it's going to show us where our line of reflection is. Because the point of a reflection is I want it to be the same distance on each side of my line of reflection. So notice that my original point right here is 2 units away from my line of reflection. So if I take a look at my second point, well, 1, 2, it's also 2 units away from my line of reflection. It's all about being on that same distance away from our reflection line. Now, we also have motion rules. Now take a look at what we have up here. My original coordinate was -2, +2, and my new coordinate is +2, +2. So let's take a look at what our motion rule is going to be. If I look at that, my motion rule is -x, y. What that tells me is whatever the sign of x is, you change it. So if my x is negative, it becomes positive. If my x is positive, it becomes negative. And I can see that if I move these points anywhere else on my graph. If I move them away, notice how I go from -4, -1. Now my x changes signs to +4, -1, because I'm reflecting over that y-axis. Well, it's the same thing if I reflect over the x-axis. The only thing is now I have a new line of reflection. So I'm going to highlight my line of reflection here because my line is now the x-axis. And let's start with our original point, my red point, and see that it is 2 units away from my line of reflection. So that means that my new point should also be 2 units away from my line of reflection. So that's how we're making that reflection. Now again, let's look at our motion rule. Our motion rule this time is x, +x, -y. So when we flipped over the y-axis, our x changed its sign. But when we flip over the x-axis, our y changes its sign because our x-coordinate stays the same. We're not moving it side to side. What's moving is our y. So I go from +2, -2 to +2, +2. And that y value right here is what is changing on us. Okay, so let's take a look at this when we have some actual shapes. So let's go here, and on this first one I'm going to reflect over the y-axis. So let me highlight my line of reflection, and that is my y-axis right here. And I want to start counting. Okay, let's see, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the points myself so we can kind of see what's going on. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to say, all right, H is 1 unit away, G is 1, 2, 3, 4 units away, and I'll leave F. Well, let's go ahead and do F. F is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units away. So for my reflection, I'm going to be taking that, and remember I want the exact same distance. So here should be H, 1 unit away. F is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units away. So it should wind up right here. And G was 4 units from the line, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4. And this should be our new triangle. So let's see when I put up my reflection if I did all right. And look at that, sure enough I did. So the reflection, again, all about keeping the same distance from our line of reflection. Again, if we look at our motion rule, since I flipped over the y-axis, our motion rule has my x value changing its sign, and we see that in our original coordinates. If you look at our x values here, I have -7, -4, -1, and they all change to +7, +4, +1. But notice that my y values all stay exactly the same, right? 5, 6, 2, 5, 6, 2. Okay, so that's how that motion rule looks. Let's take one more look at a reflection over the x-axis with an actual shape. So here we go. Let's do the same kind of idea. First, I want to highlight my line of reflection. This time it is my x-axis, so I'll highlight that just so I know where I'm going. Now we'll go from point F is 1 unit away, point E is 1 unit away, and point D is 3 units away. So now I can make my reflected shape. 1 unit away, 1 unit away, and 1, 2, 3 units away over here. So here's where my point should be on my line of reflection. So notice if I'm kind of making predictions here, I can say, all right, I think my x values are staying the same, right? I still was at -5, and I'm going to end at -5, but my y value is going to be what shifts. So let's show the reflection. Here we are, and if I look at my motion rule, my x stays the same, my y changes signs, and if we look over here, yeah, my y goes from +3, +1, +1 to -3, -1, -1, while my x values all stay the same. So that's a general breakdown of our reflections. It's about the line of reflection and keeping everything the exact same distance so we have that mirror reflection that we're looking at.